greatest, musically inclined, intellectual representative for the rap industry on a whole, a major breakthrough for female MCs everywhere. Her name, Missy Me. This is BDP reporting live from Canada.
Well, you can see and hear I'm not new to this game of rap, but I will kick it on the beat the same, perhaps. I possess what all the MCs lack, the elements of style. As a matter of fact, that's right. And here I'm not new to this game of rap, but I will kick it on the beat the same, perhaps. I possess what all the MCs lack, the elements of style. As a matter of fact, that's right.
To introduce you to our panelists and to tell you more about the program is Del Cowie. Del is a Toronto-based writer and editor whose work has been published by CBC Music, XXL, Noisy, The National Post, and Exclaim. He is a member of the Polaris Music Prize jury and also worked as an associate producer for the HBO Canada and Netflix series Hip Hop Evolution. Without further ado, please welcome the mastermind behind Before the Six, Del Cowie.
But tonight, we have ladies first, and this panel here, aims to highlight some of the key contributions women have made to Toronto hip-hop, both in the spotlight as artists and also behind the scenes. From the landmark contributions of Canadian hip-hop MCs like Michi Me in the late 80s, through to Femme Fat, Honey Jam, Fresh Arts, and as video directors, DJs, B-girls, women have been artists, influencers, B-girls, movers and shakers, and prominent voices in Toronto's hip-hop scene. Truth be told, we're only scratching the surface tonight. But with that being said, we do have a stellar panel here to discuss their experiences and their contributions to that history. Our moderator for tonight, Gemini earned her stripes in her teens as the only female member of the country's most popular hip-hop show, The Power Move, on CKLN 88.1. She eventually co-hosted and co-produced the show with DJ X. At 19, she became the music director of the entire station and moved on to create a female-fronted hip-hop show called Dropping Dimes. So beyond that, she became a spoken word poet, and her poetry has been published in various anthologies. And Gemini has also worked as an actress, appearing in a number of TV series. Gem was also a fixture on the Much Music show Video on Trial, and she's currently a radio show morning staple in the city, currently the morning show host for G98.5 FM. Please welcome Gemini to the panel. Allison Duke. Today, Allison Duke is an award-winning independent filmmaker at Goldilocks Productions. But back in the mid-90s, she was a producer and director at Rage Filmhouse, a boutique black-owned film company which created music videos for a host of Canadian urban music artists, including Nelly Furtado and Motion, who is also on today's panel. After the company earned 19 Much Music noms, she moved on to work on a hip-hop documentary called Raising Cain with the National Film Board. The success of Raising Cain launched her career as a social issues and social justice filmmaker, and over the years she has produced numerous documentaries for TV and TV broadcasts, including Thomas Allen Harris's 2016 nominated feature, Through a Lens Darkly, and most recently she executive produced the Akua Benjamin Legacy Project, a digital web series for Ryerson University about the contributions of historic anti-black racism activists, such as Dudley Laws, Charles Roach, Ronnie Green, and many others. Please welcome Allison Duke. And at the very end of the table is Motion. Motion is an MC, poet, screenwriter, and playwright. Her work has been published in two collections, Motion in Poetry and 40 Days. Her work has also been featured in a number of literary anthologies. She was the co-host of the Master Plan show on CIUT 89.5 FM for several years. She was also a member of the hip-hop group New Black Nation and also released music as a solo artist as part of the Blacklist Collective. She worked as a mentor with the Fresh Arts movement and continues today working with emerging talents in various creative and academic settings. She's been a screenwriter for TV series and also has worked on short films such as A Man's Story, which premiered at a 2016 Real World Film Festival. Her theatrical works have been staged at Factory Theatre, Pass Morai, and the BAM Center. Last year, along with DJ Eloquence, she toured Oratorio, a theatrical mixtape around Canadian cities. Please welcome Motion. DJ Eloquence.
Hey.
So Eloquence basically is, if you've heard her play, but basically She continues her quest to develop and contribute to a vibrant art scene in Canada with the music that she does. She founded Inner Voice Management and co-founded one of Canada's first television programs dedicated to hip-hop music called Cypher. She has also worked closely with Polaris Music Prize-nominated artist Saki Ibrahim. Her Headspace mixtapes and musical productions have been the soundtrack to critically acclaimed theatrical productions like Anema's Spot and Oratorio, a theatrical mixtape. Eloquence also works as an arts and DJ mentor with You for Change. If you haven't already heard it, actually, you should go visit her SoundCloud page and just check out her mixes, the Headspace mixtape, which I actually posted in the Facebook page for this event if you want to go check it out. Anyway, DJ Eloquence.
Thank you. One of the questions we get asked a lot is how we got into the game. I think now it's a bit more difficult to get in because people see that there's value to it, there's money involved, and people hold those spaces very tightly. I think maybe for a lot of us, definitely for me, it was just about walking in and not knowing any better. I was in high school, and my favorite show was the Power Move show with DJ X. He was very, very kind to my brother, who was also a DJ, and it meant a lot to me that my favorite show was so kind to him. My brother also having a learning disability, so that meant even more to me. And I absolutely loved hip-hop, so I really believed that it was about giving back. So if I could volunteer, if I could give back. I walked into the station, it's like a bad movie. It's in a grungy basement, so you can't let people know, it's dark. There was weed smoke all over the place. I didn't know any of the people. It's not like who you know and somebody hooked you up. I was a complete stranger. There were no females there at the time, and I basically walked up to X and said I wanted to be part of the show and I wanted to help out, and I loved the show, and I just wanted to help however I could. And he was like, yeah, okay, cool, no problem. Didn't call me. So I, being the extra person that I am, I went back, I bought this huge thing of water, and I wrapped it in bows and everything. And I brought it to him, and he was just like, what's happening here? And I was just like, because you are so dry. You didn't even call me. I'm trying to help you. I am not here for this. I just went off. And he actually said to me, my girlfriend is a rhymes with witch. My mother can be a rhymes with witch. These are the type of women I want in my life. You're part of the show. And that was it. For cussing him out, I became part of the show. And it really wasn't at the time about getting a job because we didn't see anyone with jobs in that field. So we didn't think it was something that could pay. It was just about something I loved doing, and also getting the support to do it. So that is kind of how I walked into the radio part of it. And for the spoken word, I had always been a writer, but one day, I think it was Cougar, was doing the Black Hat shows, and I would do rants, because again, I told you that that was me. So I would do these little rants on the radio, and he called me and said, will you perform, I think it was at the Rivoli at a spoken word event, and do poetry? And I was like, I don't really do poetry. So he was like, well, we pay. So I was like, well, I could, work on something, you know what I'm saying? And that's kind of how I started into that. So Eloquence, can you start and just kind of let people know a bit of your story of how you got into the game?
Yeah, really interesting. I mean, I had a real deep love for music. My family supported my music addiction and helped me get a little bit of equipment going. And I started DJing and playing out, and I think I was DJing a set somewhere at the CNE. I think it was the CNE bandshell stage. Mm-hmm. And DTS from the Soul Controllers recognized me and came over, and he said, come over to the show, maybe you can play. And that was a big deal because I grew up listening to the Master Plan show. I also listened to Jem, and I listened to everybody on these shows, and I was like, okay, this is cool. This was nothing that ever came to my mind. But anyways, I went to the show, and I thought I was going to, get on the turntables and play, and he was like, no, not really. You could kind of sit down and watch. And it was more of a sitting down and watching, and then, learning how to run carts, learning how to log songs. It was the building up to becoming sort of an all-round radio personality, being able to actually handle that show if I had to be on my own. So it took a long time before I actually got onto the turntables. I eventually did, which was great. that sort of opened up the doors to working with artists. Motion was the first person to take me out on the road as a backing DJ, and that was dope. Tale of Two Cities tour with
Butter Babies.
Butter Babies. And so it sort of became a thing of moving from radio, Master Plan Show being my home, and working with artists, clubs, and then sort of touring with artists. And that led to tour managing, and that led to management, and that led to a whole other slew of things.
I really like that you talked about not walking on and DJing and all the other steps, because I think that's another misconception. People will see maybe where we've got to now and the things we get to do and say, you must have did it because you want to be famous and you want to travel the world, you want to meet this person. For a lot of us, it really wasn't about that. And I know when I started, I used to just answer the phones. I had no intentions of lowly me in high school, you know what I'm saying? So I was just answering the phones. But there's a De La Soul quote where he talks about, if I was a street sweeper, I'd be the best street sweeper I could possibly be. I was the flyer girl. All I did was answer phones. Mostly when people called for phones, they wanted to know what was happening in the city. So I would come to work earlier so that I could organize the flyers, because it just looked like a garbage heap in there. So I would organize the flyers, and there was another dude that was doing flyers too, and people would start to ask for me specifically because I knew more about the flyers. It came to a point where the DJs started to bring me on air because I knew more about what was going on in the city from my little flyer job. So it really wasn't about getting on air. I had no intention of being on air. I just wanted to do whatever they told me to do to the best of my ability, which I always tell people. It doesn't matter how humble your job is, do it to the best of your ability. Okay, so staying on the music tip, and since you guys are linked, Motion, tell us about your story and how you got. It's so funny, I've known you for so many years, I don't even think I know how you got started. I just always knew when I came to Toronto, Motion was on air.
High school is basically when I got started too. All of us grew up on hearing Fantastic Voyage on 88.1 and wanted to do that. So what I started to do is I started to tape Ron Nelson shows, and then I go and I'd started a radio show at school, and I'd play like the Fantastic Voyage Oakwood edition or something like that, and just talk in between them, right? So and basically like say what's going on in the school and things like that, and I used to love doing that, but never knowing that being able to do like a little high school lunchtime radio show was going to lead to me ever doing radio. I was emceeing, all of us were basically linking up in high school, so from Mastermind, Paul, DJ X, was doing his thing, I think Northern was where he was at, and me and Power.
Right.
So everybody was hanging at Power's house, and we were all starting to, do a lot of music together and stuff, and then little by little, Paul got his show at CHRY, and then we went on the station at 89.5 Master Plan show. X went on 80.1. So it's an interesting way that it sort of, bridged out with everybody coming up together when they were kids, when we were kids. The show basically started in 89. I was asked by Lillian Allen, the legendary dub poet in the city, and told me that there's going to be a spot at CIUT. And so I should go in and, talk to them. And I was like, well, P, you're coming with me, guy. We're not going nowhere without each other. So me and Power went and basically said, yeah, Saturday nights. I think we started at 7:30 around then. And we went in and then found out that we're actually going to be doing it every other week because DTS and this guy named John Brodsky is going to be on the other Saturdays, which is fine. And so we were basically alternating for a long time, not too long, but for a while. And just like what you're saying, going from talking on in a high school lunch hour to now, I remember the first time that I saw the red light up, and I was like, Power, play some music. Because I was like, oh shoot, it just went blank. But after that, I just started to get really comfortable with being able to talk and expose the music and do the flyers. That was one thing I really loved doing, and interviewing people. And soon we were all doing the show together. and it's still on to this day. This is what, 27 years later.
Heavy.
So, definitely one of the, I guess, the longest running hip hop show in Canada, which is an amazing legacy, and to see it continuing with Generation Next and DTS. So on that tip,
Yes, yes,
you
definitely.
know, continuing to be a part of just the growing hip hop culture. Starting a record label with my other artist mates, Blacklist Records, and that was a time of great independence, because there was really no major label support going on in the country at the time. So everybody was starting their labels and working with each other and really supporting each other through college radio and independent labels. So that's just a drop.
I know for me, I think I thought I would just act like no one was listening. Because I think if I really thought of how many people were listening and what they might have to say, so we just thought we were talking to each other. And there was always this kind of competition with the different shows, and yet people don't understand that we were just so excited that they even had a show. Like, it was so awesome. There was
All right. I think I'm probably the oldest up here. And I'm saying that for a reason, because for me, I didn't sort of like enter hip hop. I felt like I was already in the game when I was growing up because of where I grew up. I grew up in public housing in Scarborough, 400 McCowan. And hip hop was just everywhere. Like my brother, he was a rapper for a group called Citizen Kane. But before that, he was a dancer for Mishi Me. And we used to have everybody coming to our house. Mishi Me, we had Maestro coming in. We had people who were coming in from New York would stop by at our crib. And I say crib because it was like a crib. And they were cutting hair in the basement. My brother also cut hair. And, this whole scene was just sort of like right in my front door. And I was a big fan of music. I love music. And I used to dance from the time I was like 7. And I was the one who actually taught my brother, who was the backup dancer for Mishi Me. I taught him how to dance. And I was a part of a group, a women's group, a hip hop group. I can't even remember the name. I won't even say electric, whatever. But it was some electric, group. And we used to walk and do all this stuff at some of the parties back in the day. And I don't know if anybody remember back in the day going to like parties in Lamoureux. Lamoureux dances. Nobody. I'm the oldest one in the room.
What do you mean?
Lamoureux dances with Sunshine crew playing and all these crews battling in Scarborough and back in the day and all over Toronto. And it was a real community there because back then because we were all organized. A lot of us lived in public housing, so we would organize ourselves to compete with each other, to meet places and have dances. It was like a whole scene. It just felt like one big community. And I didn't know what hip-hop was going to become. I just felt like I was a part of it. And you woke up every day, you opened your front door, and something was happening. Somebody was dancing, somebody was rapping, somebody was doing something. And, years growing up, I became a writer, a journalist. I used to write about music. I wrote for The Word magazine and some other magazines and some, like At the Crossroads and whatnot. And one day, a friend of mine, he thought I was an organized person, and he said, "Hey, I'm producing. I want to direct a music video for a friend of mine. Do you think you could produce it?" And I'm like, "I don't know anything about producing." "Great. Are you available?" Basically, just do it. So that person was Jeremy Hood, and the video was for Sean Nurse, and the video went well. And I said, "Oh, I really like this. This is kind of cool being on set and doing all this stuff." And then we did more videos together, and then next thing you know, 4 of us came together around the mid-'90s. And we created this film house called Rage Film House. And we produced a lot of music videos for almost anybody who wanted to have a music video. The problem was there was no black radio station, commercial black radio stations. There were the college radio stations back in the time, but there were no commercial radio stations. So a lot of people, they wanted to get mainstream attention. They wanted to sell records, and they just couldn't. And so the next best thing was Much Music. If you got a video, 9 times out of 10, with Tony Young, playing, what was his extended mix? Right. You can get it to Tony Young, and you can get your music video out there, and people can see who you are, and then you can start selling your records in the back of the, track or whatever, or
get some SoCal money.
Get some SoCal money. Okay. It's all that stuff, and then. So we just blew up. Everybody just wanted a music video. And to the point where we were making like maybe 3 videos a weekend sometimes. Wow. Fridays there's a video, Saturdays there's a video shoot, and Sunday there's a video shoot, and then we return the equipment on Monday. It was just crazy. So, so we did that for, I think, up until 2000. And I decided that the industry changed at that time for so many reasons. I guess we might get into that. But I decided to direct a film about a hip-hop group going through the challenges of trying to make it in Toronto. I picked my brother's group. I wasn't going to. I looked for other groups to follow in this documentary. And nobody would do it. And then I went to the NFB and said, I've got the perfect group. And they said, who? And I said, my brother's group. And then they said, okay, we'll check it out. Let's think about it. And then they didn't call me for a month. And then one day, they called me and they go, okay, come in. And they want you to sign the contract. We're doing the film. I said, we're doing the film? Yeah, we're doing this film. About my brother's group. My brother didn't know. I had to go and ask them. and they were really like, from the hood, hip-hop guys, like, one of the guys in the group was a little dodgy, doing some dodgy stuff, didn't want to be on camera. And I was just like, we're doing this. And they're like, hell no, we're not doing this. We don't want that. And I said, well, I already got the money for it. And then they were like, oh.
Wow, we're going back. But basically, this was, I think, the second record off of the Blacklist label. We started off. We did a U-Bad record first, and then we decided, okay, now it's time to get my first single up. Outside of doing tapes and being on mixtapes and things like that. So. I remember Power. I don't know which one Elle has, but I did a remix with both Power. Okay, yeah, Power, and Tyson Couté, and also I think that was also a time that I had a chance to start exploring more of my poetic side, because I wrote a piece that was dedicated to somebody who had passed away in the city at the time, and it was called Cycle of Life, and. It was a much slower track and things like that, but I remember I wrote it sort of like a poem. And so just seeing that I could bridge 2 things. I could have that poetic flair and also have this straight, MC spit. Right. Was definitely something where I had a chance to show some different sides of what I was starting to explore in my own voice.
Okay, so let's hear a little bit of Use What You Got.
By any means necessary, theory. 8 long years of hard work, and now it's time. Black to drop the sign.
I know, right? I'm going to see if you can play a bit of America Eats Its Young.
Yep.
My experience was completely different because in doing my little radio bits, Nick Holder, who is a very well-known house music DJ, and I wasn't the biggest house music fan, so I didn't know. So everybody was like, Nick Holder, he's like someone actually said to me, he's like the Puff Daddy of house music. I was like, what the heck does that mean? Okay, but he loved hip-hop music. So he asked me, DNH Records, yes, and I think Treehouse.
My brother's
right?
group,
and see, connected again. He definitely is a big fan and does a lot with Citizen Kane also. He approached me and asked me to do do a spoken word piece to house music. And I was just like, so I always thought house music was like, I'm happy, like I don't know what to tell you. And at the time, there had been some disgusting cases of police brutality. And I was like, I can't help you because all I'm writing is about how angry I am. I'm writing about black men being raped by police officers. I'm writing about Amadou Diallo. And I actually literally cannot write something else because this, as an artist, this is where I am. And he was like, perfect. So I said, so you want to take my police brutality piece about America eating its young and put it over a house beat? And he did, and it was actually the most amazing thing because Nick was already established. You wouldn't know it by talking to him, but Nick was already established all over the world. So that track went to South Africa, to England. I'd get calls all over the place, not knowing how big that music was.
And the track is so good, you should play it.
No, we're gonna play a piece of it, yes. So we'll play, I mean, this is weird, but we'll play a piece of it, but actually, we'll just play it, I'll tell you, yeah. So we'll just play a little bit of it.
America's still eating its young, but I think she need to get slim. Fast, somebody tell that heifer to exercise her demons. Stop chewing on black children and reduce her jail cellulite. Ain't nobody want her breast milk, so she backed up, chest swollen. See, justice for black folk is notoriously lactose intolerant. Maybe she should get a tummy tuck cause her underbelly's showing. And we see a disproportionate percentage of black boys locked up in the belly of that beast. She likes darkies, developed a taste for dark meat. I mean, she's been sucking the blood from our marrow since slavery. Too bad most innocent cons don't have the Canadians to clear up the lie. Post-suction causes a clog in the system. A lot of black boys get lost in the system. Inmates studying law to find a clause in the system. They know they're gonna die, but at least they can put some sort of cause in the system. 4 cops get acquitted and Giuliani got the nerve to give applause for the system.
People understand honesty. Truth is a truth, no matter if you like the sound of it or not. If you're true in your art, people will respond to it. How they respond is interesting. I see Agile here. I know he told me this too. Almost every DJ would say, because I was going in at DJs, because I was right on the inside circle, like a lot of us with these guys, so I knew what it was really like when I was going in. And DJs would tell me, Jem, that is so true, except me. I'm not like that DJ, but all the DJs would play it about every other DJ and never see themselves in that. So I was very lucky with that one.
From Cuba, T-Dot, bang, heavy on me. Body means motion, means action. Women, we make it happen. Bringing light, boost, cakes, flicks, legit lip service. Politic, but nervous. And wreck business, peak files from the ambitious. Styles vicious. The way I work, this is perfect. Seeking cancer risk. I dust you up, flip the top routine. Blow poses to smith the beams. They wonder how I mean. I guess I'm just too damn potent. Eliminating slate like a cop makes quotas. Hold up, I feel a call of the bass. I'm slave to the rhythm, native to the ways of the streets. Give my love to Queens for molding me, hip hop for showing me, fans for quoting me, friends for knowing me. You know what's on again? About to kill a mic tonight, then I'm going again. Then it's home to record another song again. I gotta have it, so I'm killing shot Billy. We don't go round, we don't go round. Drop the beats, we get down. Drop the beats, we get lava, lava. We don't go round, we don't go round. Drop the beats, we get down. Drop the beats, we get lava, lava.
Okay.
Hey, nice.
Split screen from back in the day. You know, and we didn't really have money. We just got money from Video Facts, and we just, used what we could. But it was good times, right?
Yeah, totally.
We would totally just, try to, I think with this, what did you think when we were doing this piece?
Well, I remember just coming up, us sitting down at your house and coming up with all these different ideas and thinking about it's like a sort of a form of resistance, I guess, a response in a way, but not really knowing that at the time. Now that I'm looking at it more in a different light, I always loved working with Rage and working with you. And I remember us being in New York when you because you're like, yo, nobody up here can edit this how I want to edit it. So you took it to NYC, went to meet you and shoot, and you're just there working. When I saw the split screen stuff, I was like, whoa. So and again, looking at different ways that we can tell stories, different levels and visually. So yeah, it was so great to work on that piece with Apani and Tara too, you know, and so it's great to even see them up on the screen in this. I haven't seen it in a little while, so.
And it was a struggle for me too, because I was used to producing a lot of the videos at the time. I wasn't directing so much. So this is one of my first few pieces. And nobody would produce for me. It was like, I got a little pushback from my team, not them specifically, but
Right.
I got a little pushback, like, oh, who's gonna produce for you now? And so I was wondering like how everybody felt at the time when we were coming up, like the support.
There was
I
think there was always, a pushback. And sometimes it was just that we didn't know better than to not do everything, than to not have a radio show, than to not do your own record label, than to not just start DJing. But what was a moment that you can share where there really was a pushback? I think we all just walked into it going, I'm aware that I'm the only female, but I'm not here to make history. It's not a political statement. And then there's a moment where you realize, oh, it is a political statement. It does mean something that I'm the only female here. For myself, Dell reminded me about a story I told in a doc where it was International Women's Day. So CKLN would always preempt the power move. So the only way that we could still be on is if we did a woman-based show. So we said one year, okay, cool, let's just play all-female hip-hop. And we were so excited by it. The guys were totally supportive of it. I don't know if they stayed. I don't know if they were there that day, but they supported me in that, right? And we actually had some rappers in the city, who I won't name, who came down, and they were so upset. Although I do understand, as Black men, this was their only space. There was only 2 shows in the city. This was their space for 3-4 hours once a week. It's their only connection, right? But for this one time, it was still hip hop. He actually started crying. He was so frustrated, and he was like, chicks don't belong in hip hop. And he's stomping, and tears actually came out of his eyes. And it was really when I realized, how important this is, how misogynist, the hip hop scene could be, and how important space was, because he was fighting that, not only fighting for his own space, he was fighting that we not get space as women. And that was definitely a really epic moment for me to see that. So
I think that, just jumping off of that, Jem, coming out of that type of conflict, you could call it, or just things that were coming up more and more in discussions amongst, women in hip hop, men in hip hop during the time. What started to happen were these all-female shows, through the radio shows, Femme Fat, Honey Jam. Whenever a Honey Jam would come around, then we would have pure female DJs and MCs coming on to, starting with 88.1 and then doing at Master Plan. And so I think that was definitely a way to sort of push back against the pushback, to start talking about, not only just to talk about the issues, but to demonstrate what the skills and what women were contributing and continue to contribute to the scene, both in front of the scenes and behind the scenes. So I think for every pushback, there's always been some form of a movement that came through that. There was a what do you call it? A special issue of Mic Check magazine.
Yes,
Mic Check magazine, which is one of the foundation hip hop and urban culture magazines that were in the city. And so in order to jump off of the radio shows, doing the all-female shows, then I believe Ebony was brought in to come and do a special issue, edit a special edition. And then in that edition, got the writers, got the MCs, got the poets, the photographers, and basically invaded the issue and put out like a really influential and important, piece of literature for the time. So,
and that was actually the kickoff, that magazine and that issue for Femme Fat and Honey Jam, and why we actually started Femme Fat. So you're right, every time there is a pushback, it just created, we had to force to create a space. Highlight, I'll never forget, an artist walked in one day and he just kept saying, but where's the DJ? Because he just saw a whole bunch of girls, and he just couldn't understand, but where's the DJ, though? And I wanted it to be forced that everywhere you look in this show, if they said, where's the producer, it's going to be a female. One time we had Wu-Tang Clan in, and I remember, and Method Man is the sweetest, nicest person ever, but all the guys were just
gaga over Wu-Tang Clan. It was weird. They turned into little girls. And we had an issue with some of the wiring. So something was going on, it wasn't working. I had to crawl under the table and fix it, because none of the guys, I don't know if they couldn't or they just were too in that moment, right? To fix it. And Method Man said to me, "Oh, are you the secretary?" And it's not even a diss, like, he really, it's all guys, and there's a girl here, but meanwhile, I was the one fixing everything. So I remember from that moment also going, if he or anyone else was to come to a show like Droppin' Dimes, there would be no secretary. Do you know what I mean? All of the women would be doing the roles that we thought were traditionally male roles. So it's also really important to create more space, and for me not to be the only one. It's cool, but you know what I mean? A lot of people want to be the only female, but there's so many females, or whatever it is you do, there's so many people who also want that shine, and that was really important. And that show continues to this day.
There is a whole slew of women who are behind the scenes and have always been as managers, doing promotions, doing marketing, you know, from the independent levels right up to the majors, writing the ads, you know, promoting parties and things like that. So I think it's just always finding the space where their voice can be heard or is heard, and then breaking open those spaces so they cannot, that their skills are always respected.
Love-hate affair with hip-hop. It depends on where the music is
And
going.
we've all, I think,
like,
been there.
Roxanne Shante, those diss records back in the day, of course, women loved hip-hop. But it depends on the tone of the music. Sometimes, like around the 2005 to 2008, I did not like hip-hop whatsoever. I know that.
I think one thing I just want to say is that, like, we're all testaments to the love for hip-hop. Every generation is also going to be different, because I'm not really digging what's going on right now, but I will say that as a DJ, I open myself to it because I have to. But I think, I grew up DJing Mobb Deep and Wu-Tang and ODB and Pac and Biggie and Lauren, and I loved it. Tribe, I loved it. So I do think that there are things that individually we resonate with and we love. The changes that happen sometimes creates the dissonance. I don't know, that's just my personal experience. But I think we're all testament to that, because it's hip-hop that brought me to this. It's hip-hop that brought me to radio. What I tried to do was not pigeonhole myself as a hip-hop DJ, because I actually had a love for all music. But I think that, I don't know, I don't understand the whole concept of like a female not loving hip-hop. I understand there's things in hip-hop that we hear, and it's not necessarily, for instance, me growing up, my mom would be like, "Yo, you're listening to Snoop and Drake, great, just don't go to sleep to that, because you can't, weed out the messages. Understand what you're listening to." But I still loved it. And, when I talk to young women, it's the same conversation I have, is that, listen to what is being said, because obviously it's affirmational. Listen to it. But I think that if you're drawn to the music, if you're drawn to the sound, if it's speaking of your experience or your brother, your sister's experience, that love is real. I don't think it needs to be dissected.
I definitely think hip-hop gave us all a platform, and as much as we're saying, what is the female perspective and not being like a male, there's also this amazing space of taking on the energy of our own masculinity. I came up as a tomboy, being able to talk as rough and tell my stories, and not having to take on the whole demure little miss. And, we looked at Queen Latifah's and MC Lights, or even if you look at a young MA right now, it does give us that platform. I think what we want, though, is for some of the males to also be able to embrace some of their feminine side. And you look at like an Andre 3000 or a Mos Def, and you just see that, okay, those people are able to, and so are we. But it's not us saying we don't want this male energy. It's awesome. But let's also allow them to take in some of the female energy.
And Jem, I was just going to say one thing that we've seen. I think women have helped to expand the outside of the four elements of hip-hop.
Yes.
In many, many ways. Like, women have expanded it, the so-called definitions of it by, like what you said, through theater, through spoken word,
Through
through
fashion.
film, through fashion.
Creativity, just
You know, even
creativity.
exactly, a lot of people used to argue, oh, is Lauryn Hill hip hop? Of course she's hip hop.
True.
You know what I mean? Just because she sings, she's hip. Why can't singing be hip hop?
Erykah
It's
Badu,
the
same
energy.
thing, yeah.
You know what I mean? It was the energy and
Jill
and
Scott.
the way that she wrote that was reflective of the MC. So exactly, Jill Scott. So I think women, that female
Motion.
energy has helped to just
Gemini.
kick it open, you know what I mean, in a lot of ways. So that's what we do. We continually create new definitions and break open the definitions, like what you said.